Yo, 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 yo. What up? What up? What up, people? Um, I just wanted to hop back on. Thank you all who joined the show with my little cuz, my little big cuz, Terry Hicks, Coach Terry Hicks, who is doing like amazing, 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 phenomenal things. We just had an hour and a half of like straight fire with him. We learned so much, about his journey. Um, about what motivated him to be great and to be who he is today, about connecting with youth, and the importance of finding common ground and building on that common ground. Like, I was, when I tell you, like, blown away by little cuz, like, I was blown away but not surprised. And shout out to all of my family, um who who tuned in tonight. It was a lot of love, and it was definitely an episode that I will always, hold close. It did a lot for me. So with that said, what I wanted to talk about briefly is that, as I mentioned on the show, that closes out season number one of the Purpose and Practice podcast. That was 25 episodes, which were like crazy. And it we had an opportunity to bring stories, of folks in our community who are doing like amazing, amazing things. And I always teach my own kids, right? My son and daughter. I say, yo, there's two educations that you can get. You can get the education that's given to you, and you can get the education that you seek, right? Um, and a lot of that is based on, you look at the work of Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro. You can understand a little bit about where I'm going with that. But I always teach them that, there is a passive education that you're going to get if you're sitting in classrooms and you're experiencing school in this country. But then there's another education that exists for those who seek it. And I was always taught to seek knowledge, right? And one of the reasons why I bring this podcast to you all is to bring knowledge, because I believe that if we bring this knowledge forward, that it will nurture and it will cause the bridge to an understanding that is like brilliant. And that is what is happening on this show. I feel like I'm bridging that knowledge to the people and getting it to you because it's out there. And a lot of times, this is real talk, right? There'll be some people I reach out to, be like, "Yo, you need to be on the podcast. Yo, you need to be on the podcast." First thing they'll say is, "I'm like shy. Like, I don't, you sure?" And I'm like, "Yo, trust me, be on the podcast." We get on the podcast, and when I tell you the amount of folks who reach back to me who are on, and they're like, you wouldn't believe this. People reaching out to me, asking me, questions on what I presented on or what I talked about. My inbox is blowing up. People are calling me. And another thing that happened is, like, some people were like, "Yo, I'm about to pursue this as a profession." And I'm like, that is what I'm talking about. That's what I want to bring in this podcast. That's what it's all about, is opening up the windows, opening up the doors of like hope, of like fulfilling, what it is that you feel is your determined idea, identifying it and then fulfilling it. And that's the beauty. So, with that said, we're going to be going on a little break. We're going to take a little time off, but in between time, because I'm always trying to remain busy, with the work. In between the time that we take off, which is probably going to be about a month in time, we'll be back to you in mid-January, which I'm going to get you the exact date. But in between time, we're going to start a new series, right? So let me just show you kind of like where we're going to be going, right? So starting next week on the 23rd, we're going to be starting these Brothers and Sisters Discuss. Okay. Now there will be different guests on the different shows. The first one that we're going to bring to you will be next week on Wednesday, the 23rd at 7 o'clock. You'll be able to catch it here streamed on Facebook, and then you'll be able to catch up to it on the YouTube channel as well. we're going to bring to you Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, some of you may have already read the book. I read the book. I recently watched the HBO special. If you have not read the book, check out the HBO special, because the brothers and sisters that I bring to you next week, we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss, and we're going to talk a little bit about the book, but a lot about the documentary. Check that out. We're going to bring it to you next week. We got Monet Williams, who's going to be on the show. Super excited, to have her on the show discussing this work. We got Sherrod Johnson, my sister. We got Kevin Gilbert, my brother, educator, Sherrod, entrepreneur, doing crazy things. Monet is just a boss. Like, you're going to learn about Monet. Monet's going to be in season 2. We're working on some dates to get her locked down for season 2. But, all of these people, real talk, these Long Branch heads, man. These are Long Branch people doing phenomenal, phenomenal things. And here's what I'm going to say. We all, came from this community. We grew up in this community. We have different stories. We have diverse stories. I just hope that we continue to reach back, because that's the purpose of all of this. I hope that we continue to reach back and bring these stories forward. Our youth need to hear these stories. Our youth need to hear from folks like we're going to have on this panel. And if we're not doing that, then we are doing a disservice. Because remember how I started this. The education that we are given, the education that we seek. This is the sought education. And this is what we're bringing to you on Purpose and Practice. So next week, please join us, December 23rd, 7 p.m., Between the World and Me. It's going to be a fire conversation between the four of us, where we're going to get deep, 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 deep into Ta-Nehisi's work. And if you're not familiar with the work, please check out the show on HBO. If you have time in between to read the text, to read, the book is fire. Like, it's so, I remember I did 2 things. I read the book, and then I also listened to the narration of the book. And Ta-Nehisi actually did the narration, and I was like blown away. It's beautiful. It is, and that's like the English teacher coming out of me. Like, it's beautifully written. It's alive. If you've ever visited Howard University, if you attended Howard University, if you're a Bison, you'll fall in love with it, because it's like, when I tell you, it opens up almost like a portal of like what that whole Chocolate City, what that whole Howard University experience felt like. And we had, the brother, Kevin Gilbert, who's going to be on the show. Shout out to my brother. We were fortunate enough to come up during a time with his older brother. Shout out to Woody Gilbert, who attended Howard, right? So we would go down to Howard homecoming. We would check out the homecoming. We would go down, periodically, just to visit the university. And when the brother Ta-Nehisi was writing about it, when I was reading it and listening, and then even watching this documentary, I felt like I was back at that time of visiting the school. And then one of the most brilliant things, that we got an opportunity to do is go back and see the brother Woody graduate. We were there at the graduation, checking out, and experiencing firsthand, the brother walking and going through that experience, as a college graduate and down at, Howard University. And a shout out to him, because those were the stories when my cousin talked on the last episode about, the experiences, the stories, the common ground, the examples. Woody was definitely one of those examples for us. and opened up a world for us. And those are days that we will always cherish and we will never forget, because he was a brother from the community that we were able to touch and feel and talk to and experience life with, but then also to see those next steps after high school. In those next steps that we may not have all been familiar with because they were next steps of college. So those of you who are educators and those of you who call yourself educators, understand your purpose and understand that there's a lot riding on what you do. And there are young eyes watching, there are young ears listening. Please make sure that you are conscious of the words that you are using and what you are speaking into these young children. And also make sure your actions align with those things. And finally, see the greatness in them. And that's what we're going to experience next week. So that's just a little teaser that I wanted to share with you in terms of getting ready for next week. And it's going to be it's going to be crazy. I'm really looking forward to, the few series, the things that we're going to do in between the next season. I think it's going to be fun stuff. So shout out to the folks that are going to be on the panel. And we're going to be setting up some other panels with some other folks so that we continue these discussions that are critical for our community. So blessings. Thank you all. And I look forward to spending more time with you. I look forward to next week. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Take care of yourselves, and love on each other, love on each other. So peace out until next time. I'm saying so long and peace to you.
It's a 9-chord banger. Dr. Ross dropping knowledge to the masses. Man, you now tuned in to purpose and practice. Purpose and practice. Keep your mental sharp. Learn all the tactics. Dr. Ross dropping knowledge to the masses. Man, you now tuned in to purpose and practice. Purpose and practice. Podcast game. He got it mastered. It's encore.